Please like and subscribe. In the hazy sky, dark clouds were constantly rolling, and a drop of acid rain finally fell from the clouds. It was constantly fluttering in the strong wind, and finally landed in front of Ren with a thud. Ren was lying on the ground in the wilderness. He frowned and said to himself that he was a little unlucky today. Before the prey could come, acid rain came first. Some people say that you must be careful of wild beasts when walking in this wasteland. But Ren felt that this person didn't say the whole thing because there are many things that can kill people in this wasteland, one of which is acid rain. However, Ren still didn't move. If there were no more prey today before the acid rain brought disease, he and Yan would starve to death. Suddenly there was the sound of a bird's wings flapping in the air, and Ren's eyes suddenly widened, but his breath was never disturbed. Not far in front of Ren, he was using a branch to support a black iron pot, with a little bit of black breadcrumbs sprinkled under the iron pot. The big bird noticed something with his sharp eyes. Suddenly, the bird changed its direction towards Ren very quickly, and Ren noticed that the bird was coming for him. And then the boy jumped up, like a wild donkey running wild. He dodged the bird's claws and rushed towards the iron pot, and before the big bird could repeat the attack again, Ren woke up to that attack coming from the bird very quickly. He tried his best to use the iron pot to fight the sparrow. He managed to hit the bird hard with the pot and throw it to the side. Ren jumped towards the bird before it got up. He grabbed the bird's neck with extreme force, causing it to break and blood to come out of its mouth. He had been waiting for this sparrow all night, but what was gratifying was that today's efforts were not in vain. He knows that such a good opportunity does not come every day. Ren put the bird on his back, preparing to go home, thinking that he could go to the grocery store to sell the bird. It is estimated that he can exchange food for several days. Ren suddenly felt a tremor in his mind and became dizzy, and he knelt down on the ground. It was like a huge bell was ringing in his mind, and he was completely plunged into dark chaos. What's bad is that in the past, the illness always came at midnight, but this time it happened earlier. This is not the first time he has been sick. Almost everyone in the market town knows that he has something wrong with his brain and suffers from pain from time to time. But Ren knew very well that it wasn't pain. It was pure chaos. But this time was different from previous times. He still has his conscience. The black fog in his mind had already opened, revealing a palace inside, and a huge door appeared in front of him. Ren went to open the door and entered the palace, its walls decorated and swirling with black fog. Ren started inspecting the place and headed towards a table in the middle of it. The table had a box on top of it, surrounded by a strange black mist. Suddenly, he felt pain in his head again. We shift to the forest and see a figure hiding. The bold guy smiles while looking at Ren. Ren suddenly opens his eyes in disbelief. That he woke up so quickly this time? He got up quickly, and now he must get out of here before the acid rain completely arrives. Ren tied up the sparrows and hung them on his shoulders. However, before he could run far, a figure stopped in front of him and held up a bone knife, telling Ren to give him the prey. But before the man could finish his words, he saw a huge iron pot in his field of vision, slapping him hard on the face from far away. The robber rolled backward. He didn't expect Ren's movements to be so crisp, so powerful. Ren raised the pot again to use it as an umbrella and ran wildly without any pause. Seeing that the robber hadn't even laid down on the ground, a window appeared in front of him that said he must give his prey to someone else. Ren became upset about the task he was given, with a large exclamation mark appearing on it. Ren turned around and walked skeptically towards the robber. The robber panicked. Ren sized up the robber carefully. "Do you want this sparrow?" Ren asked. The thief was surprised and said, "Yes, I want it." "Here you go." Ren stuffed the sparrow into the robber's arms without any explanation. The thief became happy because he got the bird. The unfamiliar and neutral voice sounded again. Quest complete. Awarded the basic skill duplication scroll. You can learn other people's abilities. Ren was stunned for a moment. He could clearly feel a piece of craft paper appearing in his mind. Did the skill duplication scroll mean that he could use it to directly copy other people's abilities, hunting, survival, or something else? The robber hugged the large sparrow tightly in his arms and was about to say some words of gratitude. "You're a good person." Before he could finish speaking, he watched helplessly as Ren dragged the sparrow away again and swaggered off. The robber. He looked at Ren's back as he ran away. The robber says, "What kind of person is this? The world is really going down." After the rain, the sky cleared up, and Ren was rushing back with a large pot and sparrows on his back. Ren returned late. He glanced at the sky and saw that it was about to be enveloped in darkness. It was extremely dangerous to carry prey through the market town at this time. A towering fortress came into view, and the post-war wasteland came into view. Human civilization is lingering on, and there are ruins and various mutated animals everywhere. Like other civilians, they all live in the civilian area below the fort. Revealed here are some thatched houses and towering road clouds. At this time, Ren carried the sparrow and walked down the street. He immediately attracted the attention of a group of skilled and idle gangsters because most of the people here were just working as coolies for the people behind the wall to get food. The gang members encouraged the bald brother to snatch Ren's prey. Ren saw them whispering and became more vigilant. One hand also tightened the bone knife at his waist. When the gangster Jengi was about to take action, the bald brother slapped the gangster and said, "Forget it, don't mess with him. He is mentally ill." He understood what this meant. The most terrifying disease is a disease in the head. Then Ren came to the grocery store where the prey hunted by the hunter could be sold to the grocery store owner, who would then resell it to the fortress. Ren negotiated with the grocery store owner and sold the loot. He bought a cotton-padded jacket for 6 yuan, then looked at the counter, wanting to buy some medicine to treat the wound. But after learning the price, he thought it would be good to let the wound heal on its own. Afterwards, Ren returned home. Yan, who was doing homework, was very happy to see Ren back. Ren sat next to Yan and asked him how he did his homework. Yan responded, "Okay," but he is actually not interested in learning. He looked at Ren expectantly. When can he go hunting with him? Ren doesn't want his younger brother to suffer hunting with him, and his life may be in danger at any time. Having knowledge is the most important thing. If you look at the situation, no matter how chaotic it is, no one has ever dared to cause trouble for the teacher. It's a pity that the tuition is too expensive, otherwise he would also like to study medicine, and then he took out the leftover internal organs of the sparrows to cook. At the same time, the wound that could not be cut also attracted Yan's attention. Ren said it was just a minor injury and it didn't matter. After Ren cooked the leftovers, Yan refused to eat them. He wanted Ren to eat it to recover from his injuries. Ren put the plate on the table and told Yan to eat first. Yan didn't say anything after hearing this. He sat on the ground silently and ate with tears in his eyes. Ren felt that his words might be a bit harsh. He stepped forward, touched Yan's head, and told him to eat quickly, and tried on the jacket he bought for him, and he looked up at Ren. Then your brother Ren turned around and said with a smile, "Don't worry about me. I'm not cold." Later, he lay in bed and thought about what had happened today. As soon as he closed his eyes, he entered his fantasy world again. The palace in the illusion appeared again, and this time he walked directly to the table to see what was on it. He saw a piece of paper now on the table with the tasks and rewards completed today written on it. There is an old printer on the desktop, and on the keyboard above are the core values. Ren secretly wondered, could this be a hint that he wants to be a good person? Ren's experience tells her that in this society, there is no difference between being a good person and committing suicide. At the same time, a woman came to the door of Ren's house. She was startled as soon as she opened the door curtain. She saw a bone knife directly pressed against her neck, and it makes Yan realize that the person who came is actually Sister Xiao Yu. Yan slowly put away the knives, and the woman also breathed a sigh of relief. The reason for this is that it is very dangerous here at night, and he must always be vigilant. Yan looked at her coldly and asked her what she was doing. Obviously, they had a bad impression of her. She was very friendly and bowed her head and said that she heard Ren was injured. Yan told her that his hand was pecked by the sparrow he caught, and she showed a worried expression. Looking at Ren, who was lying on the bed, she wanted to say something, but she hesitated. She just looked at Ren quietly. After a pause, she whispered, "She'll go back first." Then she turned and left. After watching her walk away, Yan got up and came to the door to continue standing guard. Just as he was sitting in a daze, his brother's voice came from behind. "Don't always bully your sister." Yan immediately retorted that she's not decent. He saw her smoking a few days ago. Cigarettes are something that the barrier factory will send. Maybe she got it from a wild man. He thinks she's just close to him because he always succeeds at hunting. Ren looked at Yan and said, "Seriously, who do you think is decent? If you want to live in this world, you can't be decent. It's all forced by life. Just stay far away and don't tease her." After listening to Ren, Yan seemed to understand, nodded, and said, "Yes." Ren also got up at this time and came to sit next to Yan. The two of them sat at the door and looked at the moon. Everything seemed so beautiful at this time. Ren told Yan that he may have some kind of ability, but he doesn't know what kind of ability it is yet. Ren looked at the sky and fell into memories. He used to not believe in these things at all, until one time he went hunting with Yan. Yan just lay there and made a wish, hoping to catch prey, and a bird fell directly from the sky in front of him. Yan's ability is luck, but after making a wish, he will suffer backlash, and there will always be some minor disasters and illnesses, so he will no longer bring Yan with him when hunting in the future. Yan told him to look at the shooting star. He pointed at the meteors flying across the sky and said, "What a beautiful night sky." Many meteors streaked across the sky. Ren was worried about Yan's wish and hurriedly told him not to wish randomly. What if it happened the other way around? Then he asks, "Why do you think the meteors fly so fast?" He said that they probably move so fast because they don't actually want to listen to anyone's wishes. The next day, when Yan went to school, Ren followed them. However, he was not teaching in the classroom, but lying at the window of the classroom and eavesdropping. All the students in the classroom were listless, but Ren was by the window, looked serious, and listened with interest. Because the window was relatively high, Ren listened with her feet tapping the whole time. This teacher is also a good person. He actually discovered it a long time ago. After school, he found Ren and asked him to listen to classes at the door in the future. Ren immediately bowed to the teacher. Then he raised his head and happily said thank you to the teacher. After a while, the teacher was sitting there having lunch and saw someone holding a cigarette in both hands and passing it to him. It was Ren. He said that he had not paid the tuition, so he had to express his gratitude in class. Obviously, this trick is very effective. In a place like this, cigarettes are really not something that ordinary people can get. With the help of cigarettes, the two quickly became good friends. And Ren also got a lot of information from the teacher. The secret of the current status quo of the fortress where technology was world famous in the past, the rich built the fortress just to exploit the refugees. Time flew by, and it was time for afternoon class again. As the bell rang, the teacher slowly walked to the podium. At this time, Ren suddenly heard the palace in his mind speak again. Mission. Desire for knowledge is never a bad thing, but what you learn must be taught to others. Ren was stunned for a moment. He simply didn't understand what this mission required him to do. During the afternoon class, the students felt very fresh. Ren, who was several years older than them, stood outside the door, and so many students turned around to look at him. He cleared his throat and said that today we have a survival class. You are about to become adults, and you must learn how to protect yourself in the future. Next, let's talk about what to do if you encounter a pack of wolves in the wild. Then he pointed to Ren and said, "What to do if you encounter a wild wolf in the wild?" Ren was a little surprised. He didn't expect that, As an observer, he would be lucky enough to answer questions. He saw him pretending to be very professional and saying that we should first choose a high point and then the view should be wide, and it is best to have wind and water next to it. The teacher nodded with satisfaction and continued, saying that it would be better to choose Ren for such a purpose. The teacher saw Ren making a great expression while talking, and the expression on the teacher's face changed from sunny to rainy in an instant, which really shocked the teacher. There was a sudden silence in the class, and everyone looked at Ren. He would always do unexpected things like this. Therefore, many people always say that there is something wrong with his brain. Strange why the task was not completed. Does the system require me to make everyone understand what I am saying? At this time, the teacher coughed twice, trying to relieve the embarrassment. Ren also quickly explained to the teacher, "Sir, you may have never seen wild wolves outside, let alone a pack of wolves, even a lone wolf. As long as you meet them, there is basically no possibility of having a baby. So just choose the quickest destination if you encounter one." The teacher thought for a moment and thought that what Ren said was not unreasonable. Maybe what he said was right, so he said, "You can sit in the classroom and listen to the class, and you will also teach the survival lesson from now on. Thank you, sir." Ren replied a little excitedly. At this time, the task system also sent out a message that the task had been completed. It seems that the completion of the task really requires the other party to understand it before it can be regarded as teaching others. The system prompts that the reward for completing the task is Ren's insensitive power. Ren also confirms that the power supply system is not an illusion, but his own real power. He began to calculate the power he had just gained, thinking that his power now exceeds that of an ordinary adult, and then thought about the benefits of hunting in the wild. After school, suddenly, Jan stopped him and asked curiously, "If the teacher asks you to attend classes and to be a substitute teacher, does he want you to be his successor?" Ren said with some suspicion that he guessed that he might be short on money, looked at Jan jokingly, and said, "When he becomes a teacher, he will pass the position to him. He doesn't want to be a teacher. The wilderness is where I belong." Jan looked at Ren's back sadly. He was always like this. He wanted to leave any good things to him. Then the two of them held hands and walked home. They met a group of sergeants holding guns on the road. It should be a group of mercenaries passing by them. Ren heard that they were going to Jinshan. The reason they came here was to find Wang and see if he could find someone to lead the way. Ren knows very well what Jinshan is. The mercenaries in this group of fortresses lack actual combat experience, so rushing in like this is no different than seeking death. Suddenly, he passed by the last person on the team. Ren suddenly turned around and saw a woman. She was wearing a black rippled jacket and a peaked cap with a low brim. Her age could not be determined. She should be a girl. No matter how you look at it, there is something special about this group of people. Ren knows this feeling all too well. Her intuition told her that this person's strength should not be underestimated. He told Yan that these people are weird, so you should hide away. After returning home, Yan saw that the small tree had been pecked by a sparrow and was injured, but Ren told him not to worry because the small wound happened. Suddenly, there was a burst of noisy voices outside the door. The two of them looked over and found that it was Wang and the group of mercenaries. He saw Wang say to the soldier that Ren is the most dominant among our hunters. Unexpectedly, Wang actually introduced himself to this group of people. He did not want to accompany this group of people. People go into the mountains to die. He told Yan not to panic and to just stay inside. Then Ren walked out of the door boldly, made a 180-degree change, and grabbed Wang's hands, and say, "Congratulations! Father and son are safe, and the baby weighs 3.24 kilograms. This act made everyone look like a question mark. The commander looked at Wang angrily. "This is because you said this was a small problem," and say, "Do you know the consequences of lying to us?" Then the soldier commander led the crowd away angrily. The grocery store owner looked at Xiao Su innocently. "Xiao Su, you are going to die this time." Then he hurriedly chased after the soldier to explain. The band staff didn't bother to listen to his explanation. He gave him 6 hours to find a suitable candidate. At the same time, the mysterious woman among the mercenaries turned back to stare at Ren, and he stood there thoughtfully, watching them leave. A voice came from the palace. It will randomly learn the target skills and randomly select the opponent's firearm skills. The system asks him if he wants to learn it. The system started loading all firearm skills. Ren knows that he can really copy other people's skills. He closed his eyes and successfully mastered the advanced firearms proficiency. Ren finds out that there are only 2 types of skill duplication scrolls. The first one is the basic skill duplication scroll. You can learn any skill below the advanced level. The second one is the master skill duplication scroll. You can learn other people's master skill duplication scrolls. There's also a chance to learn the target's supernatural ability. Ren said, stunned. He could learn other people's supernatural abilities. At that moment, he remembered the girl and suddenly asked, "Can you tell me the level of the girl's firearms proficiency?" The system showed him that she had mastered perfect gun proficiency, and wonder why she appears in that band. His little brother asked him why he kept staring at other people's backs. Jan asked as he emerged from the shack. He turned back to look at Jan. Just as he was about to assert his authority as his elder brother, the curtain of the shack next door was lifted, and a female voice asked, "Whose back is there?" At this time, both Jan and Ren were stunned. The person coming out of the shack next door turned out to be Xiao Yu. Jan asked her, "Why are you in the shack next door?" Xiao Yu smoothed her hair and said with a smile, "She will move here and be their neighbor." Jan pulled Ren aside, lowered his voice, and said, "Brother, Sister Xiao Yu is spending a lot of money. She used to live in a stone brick house." Ren did not say a word. Instead, he lowered his head and went back into the shack. Yan smiled at Xiao Yu and went back into the shack. Ren tell him, "Try not to provoke your sister Xiao Yu." As soon as he walked in, he shouted strangely, "Brother, look at the 2 potatoes hidden under the table, and there seem to be 3 pills. Is this medicine for your hand?" Ren quickly took it into his hand and checked that it was indeed an anti-inflammatory drug. Ren tell Yan if he remembers last year. He encountered a pack of wolves and was injured, and someone secretly gave them a few pills to help me survive. Yan immediately said that he only told Sister Xiaoyu about his injury this time. At this moment, there was a noise next door. A man told Xiaoyu he had brought her cigarettes. At the same time, along with Sister Xiaoyu's exclamation, "She will never do that kind of thing again," Yan and Ren became worried, and he rushed out of the house, holding a drum knife. As soon as he went out, he saw Sister Xiaoyu being bullied. There was Ren on the road bed who was about to take action, and he heard the voice of the system to help Sister Xiaoyu. Ren also said he would help even if there was no such task. In an instant, Ren rushed forward with the drum knife in hand. Looking at the man couldn't help but laugh and say, "The little man wanted to chop me with a drum knife, so the man took advantage of the situation and pulled out the knife. This is a real iron tool." What the man didn't expect was that the next second, there was a bang and the iron tool broke. With Ren Xiaosu's continuous punches, the man fell to the ground, picked up a piece of iron tool on the ground, and was about to kill him. The system notices that he must set his enemy free if he wants to complete system tasks. So Ren cuts the man's waist with an iron tool. You still have about 3 minutes to get to the clinic for stitches in time. Maybe there is still hope of survival. As he ran away, the man's system also prompted a task. Yan looked at the escaped man and said worriedly to Ren, "What if he recovers from his injuries and seeks revenge on you?" Ren shook his head and said, "Do you still expect the broken clinic in our town can heal his injuries?" However, he was not happy. The crossbow knife had been broken on the ground. Looking at her on the side, Ren said softly, "Can you quit smoking?" Sister Xiaoyu was startled and nodded immediately. Like a child who had done something wrong, Ren thrust the broken knife into the soil with force. So he turned around and said in his most handsome posture, "Although he is handsome and 60 years younger, but it is impossible for us." Sister Xiaoyu broke into a cold sweat when she heard this. "I just treat you as my younger brother." This thoughtless answer instantly embarrassed Ren and made him laugh. So awkward. After saying that, Ren turned around and said to Yan, "You keep talking about it every day." Looking at the two brothers leaving, Sister Xiaoyu couldn't help but laugh. After returning home, Ren heard the sound of typing coming from the dark and foggy space in his mind, that a side quest has been activated. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more content. Leave a like or comment to help the channel out.